into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Survivor After Show here at AfterBuzzTV.com for Survivor 31, Survivor Second Chance, Episode 8, You'll Call, Will Hall. I'm your host, James Wallington, and across the table from me is...
I'm Susannah Kim. You can follow me on Twitter at Susannah_Kim and on Instagram at Susannah Kim.
And I'm Paige Bonanno. You guys can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Paige Bonanno.
This is such a crazy episode that I want to dive right into it because I have a lot of questions, I have a lot of opinions on it.
Agreed.
But overall, thoughts on the episode in one word.
OMG, I was gonna say oh my god, but that's 3 words. Blindsided.
Damn.
WTF. Right?
So good.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I'm speechless.
Yeah,
Speechless. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But
So-
yeah, clearly we were like,
Diving right into this episode, the episode starts off with Savage, and he's kind of talking about how his goal, again, we've heard this prior episodes, it's been his goal to make the jury because on Survivor Pearl Islands, he got robbed of that just by 1 round. Oh, excuse me, I'm a little excited. And so he talks about that a little bit more, and then, of course, he talks about how he doesn't want like the Sierras, the Abbeys, or the Wentworths to keep going further in this game, and that seems to be his main focus at this point in the episode.
Right.
Then it transitions to a conversation with Sierra and Steven, and they're chatting on the beach. And this is where Steven's starting to realize a common goal that both him and Sierra have, which is the idea of making a big move to take out a player like Joe. Steven's so, tunnel vision. Joe is the person. Golden Boy's got to go.
Golden Boy.
What do you guys think of the interaction between Sierra and Steven?
what I got from it, I put Sierra, it seemed like she was kind of puppet mastering him a little bit. Like, I felt like she was kind of, putting some ideas in his head, and I felt like she was, sort of molding his opinion on what was going on.
She said,
Absolutely.
she was like, she knows that she can sway Steven.
Yeah.
So that's why she's picking him to do it with.
Well, and I think she also made a good point that she's like, I figured that I would get some votes at Tribal Council. This is the conversation she's having with Steven. I figured I would get some votes, but the game's always changing. And then it cuts to her interview where she's like, I'm at the bottom of the totem pole, so I'm literally throwing anything that I can to see what sticks.
Exactly.
So Sierra, her gears are always moving, and I think it speaks volume how great of a player Sierra is. And, I will take not seeing her the first few episodes to see this kind of Sierra playing the game right now. Because we've been seeing her a lot as of late. So I love it. Hopefully
we definitely have.
She's not going home anytime soon because I'm worried that they're
I thought she was going to get home tonight. That's the thing. Well, because she was kind of being annoying last Tribal Council, and definitely she was. I mean, we didn't know this at the time, but she was being so annoying this Tribal Council too. Yeah. So I don't know, and she was so low. Like, I'm surprised that she didn't get any votes.
I think she was feeling that too, because it kind of opened up with her being like, okay, you guys, or not opened up, but like she was like, I know that was a little annoying, or I guess one thing that's her word. She was talking about how she's like, I didn't mean to be off like offensive or anything, but I just want everyone to play the game. And I'm like, you're just putting a target on your back.
Exactly. That's what I thought.
Playing the game, they're just playing it against you, girl.
Right. Exactly.
And Steven's starting to see things like, okay, well, Sierra might be someone I could possibly work with because we both have that same thing in common. We want to make big moves. I was like, this is going to be a great episode. Hopefully a big move will be made.
Right. Steven's like, I just don't want to get run over by a bunch of bros. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, I thought he was going to do something better.
Well, and then, of course, the reward challenge happens, and it's 2 teams of 6 paddling out into the ocean to get boxes, bringing them back to shore, and then figure out the puzzle. The colors could not duplicate on each side of the puzzle. The winner would be taken to the Survivor Cafe with iced coffee, bagels, and cookies.
Oh, yeah.
In season 1, that was when a paddling challenge happened, and Kelly Wigglesworth, the river guide, losing to Jervis, said, I lost to the guy who can't swim. So this is kind of like a second chance redemption for Wigglesworth, who, again, we have yet to see much of this entire season.
And she really hasn't won any, rewards or anything. I feel like she always comes up short, especially, I feel like we've done a couple challenges now when he's like, Wigglesworth, you were in this challenge and you lost, and then like she loses it every time. So I'm really happy that she got redemption this time finally.
Absolutely. And there's one question I did have about the reward challenges. Jeff did say this was going to be a schoolyard pick. I kind of wish that they would have shown the schoolyard pick, because I think as viewers it would have given us a little bit more insight as to where the lines are.
Exactly.
Because we kind of talked about the negative side of the amount of swaps that there have been. We have a high, kind of like a hazy idea of who's aligned with who.
Right.
And I'm just confused.
Yeah.
So it would have been nice to see a schoolyard pick play out.
Yes,
to see
'cause that's
why
such a
people
social
picked
thing.
who
Definitely.
and who was in charge of picking those
That's
teams.
what I was saying, yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know about everyone in the live chat, but let us know what you think.
Yeah, how did they not show, like, that's, because when they said schoolyard pick, I obviously thought of, like, 2 captains picking people on the schoolyard, but then, like, once they didn't show it, I was like, oh, maybe they did it a different way that I'm not thinking of, because why wouldn't they show that?
Right.
And then once we saw, like, the way the teams kind of lined up, too, I was
It
like,
didn't make
how
sense.
did that happen? Yeah. I was like, who picked what? Yeah,
It was all over the board. It was like, there's some alliance in this team, some alliance in that
Because what was
team.
it? Joe, Keith, Wigglesworth, Wentworth, Sierra.
Kimmy.
Which is a really
And Kimmy.
strong team.
It's pretty much my whole team.
And then you have
plus Kimmy
team
and Kelly.
2, Savage,
Yeah.
Spencer, Tasha, Jeremy. And then once I saw Abby, Maria, and Steven on that team,
Then
I was like, they're going to
what
lose.
happened? Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to lose. They're probably the last 2 picks. Because they're not really good at challenges.
Wait, Abby, Maria, and Steven left? Well, then how are they on the same team?
Well, I think that they, like,
Last
from
3.
the Slim Pickings. That's why I wish I wish we would have gotten to see that.
Yeah, I wonder who was last, and probably Kimmy.
Yeah.
Kimmy or Keith. Yeah.
Keith.
Probably Kimmy.
No, if Joe was the captain, he would have picked Keith.
Sheena123 says, I think that they do random teams, and I agree. However, tonight Probst did say it would be a schoolyard pick, which means, you know, if you're on the schoolyard and you're playing dodgeball, let's say it's Paige and Susannah choosing their teams, they would go back and forth picking their teams. So I wish we just would have been able to see that play out. Joseph Boza weighing in on the conversation. I think that the schoolyard pick didn't go the way the producers wanted, and that's why it wasn't aired. So maybe it didn't cause as much drama as they were hoping for, so it wasn't pertinent to the story.
Good point.
Probably. Hey, yeah, that's a good point for sure.
And Steven Sosa, also weighing in on the conversation, says they never have shown the schoolyard pick anyways. Again, I agree. That's so true. But as a viewer who's been confused as to where the relationships are in this game on day 20, it would have been nice to see how the schoolyard pick would have fallen into place.
Sure. Definitely.
Of course, this reward goes to the green team. No shock there. They had some pretty powerful challenge.
Joe's never going to lose ever. So.
Joe and Keith, not to mention Wentworth and Wigglesworth and Sierra and Kim. Like, they were all just really strong competitors. So
yeah,
I think the odds were definitely in their favor.
What about when they were jumping off of the rafts and like they were all flopping like crazy, and like Keith, like it looked like he literally like broke his jaw. Did anybody else notice that?
Well, I was worried that he was going to flip the boat over, because right when they were starting to go into the ocean, the whole boat like leaned to the right, and you're like, don't fill up with water, because that would have totally set the pace for the rest of the challenge.
Yeah, they were like, he literally looked like he like knocked his face off.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, and then Joe was so sweet when Kimmy was like pushing the box. She's like, this is as far as I can. He's like, you're good. I love you. I was like, oh my god.
Just every point of the way, like there are so many instances where like throughout the episode there's just small little gestures that Joe makes, you know, whether it's like hitting Keith on the ass or
right.
things that he does that are just so adorable. I know. So like
I agree.
Yeah,
I just love how much they show Joe, because he is beautiful.
In the intro, like where they show him with his hair all wet, I am all about it, Joe.
I can't even comment on this matter right now.
It's getting warm in here.
Yeah, because I'm getting a little toasty. Getting a little toasty.
All right.
Of course, Green Team wins, and they are sent to the Survivor Cafe. But before that, we did see a little glimpse of Steven, being like, the thought of Joe and the girls going on this reward together is terrifying, because I want to get rid of him. And this gives him a chance to get into their heads, which we really didn't see much of Joe trying to get into the people's heads. It was Sierra.
Joe's never tried to get into anybody's heads before.
Exactly, which like Joe's really in the chat. Everyone's like, I like Joe, he's awesome, but he's not playing a social game, which I totally agree.
He's really not. Yeah. Because we don't know where he sits.
But he's like the nice guy.
I think for someone like Joe, who is obviously a physical threat coming into the competition, his idea is, if I don't win, I'm going home.
Right.
And everyone kind of has that understanding that once Joe loses, which we saw the conversation tonight kind of play out that way, once Joe loses in immunity, he's going home. So I think he's more fixated on the idea of, I just need to focus on winning challenges rather than being a social player. Right.
He's already well liked.
He doesn't have to talk.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, no, totally.
We were talking about that earlier, is like, it sucks because like in the earlier seasons of Survivor, like you would win Survivor by surviving, being physical, like doing challenges and stuff like that. And now like the game has totally flipped so much that it's all about.
It's a huge social game.
It's a huge social game, and it's kind of sad to like see that. I mean, it's fun, either way, but it kind of sucks to see that like Joe in any other world would be the survivor.
He's the
like
ultimate
he's the ultimate survivor.
Of a survivor. Yeah, fire, helping people out, just everything he does.
Exactly.
He wins all the challenges.
He knows how to survive in the wilderness.
Yes.
He's strong. He can do everything, and like he always helps his team win. But like he's not going to be the survivor because of the social aspect of it, when people just want to get him out because he's a threat.
Right.
Which kind of sucks to see that.
Like, he's genuinely a nice guy. So I don't even know if he actually even has it in him to be, like, that diabolical, to, like, really scheme on people and, like, be two-faced. I don't think he could do it.
Well, we saw that, too, when they came up and they were like, okay, Joe, so it's a no-go. And he's like, oh, dang. Like, okay, well, what are we going to do next? Like, he didn't try to scheme and, like, and fix it or anything.
So
he's like, okay, I'll follow what you guys do. Like, just let me know.
To me, like, if I don't know. If, like, for me, obviously, he's a big threat. He's, like, the obvious winner. But, like, to me, I have nothing against it. Like, if I was on the tribal, I would totally vote for him. Like, I think he deserves it.
I agree.
1,000%.
He deserves to be a survivor. Whereas, like, Steven, on the other hand, like, he's very, like, methodical and, like, a good player in that sense. But, like, he's not a good challenge person and, like, not physical enough to ever win the game of Survivor.
I mean, is Steven really methodical? Because I think this season, he hasn't proved that.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a really strong grasp and understanding of how Survivor is played.
Sure.
Right.
But I think he's so knowledgeable on it that he doesn't know how to play his game.
Yeah, I don't know if Steven was the best example, but you know,
he
like,
has a good awareness of the game, like the game overall. But he's just
he
so
doesn't have as good as
narrow-minded
social
that
skills.
he can't get out of his own little bubble to be, like to play what he's aware of.
And his social skills aren't
narrow-minded.
really working there either.
Totally.
So.
Yeah.
Charlie Rose 214, giving their opinion on Joe, says Joe is the photogenic, hunkier, and cleaner version of Ozzy, and I could not agree more.
Oh my god!
If you have Joe, Ozzy, Joe takes the cake.
Oh,
True.
Of course, Kimmy's excited because it's a very special reward for her on her first time playing, as well as this season. It's her first reward ever. So yay, Kimmy! So happy for her.
That was cute.
And Sierra, I love Sierra as a player because she really does have a strong understanding on how to play this game and how it works. And she said that she thinks that rewards are extremely important. It's the perfect time to talk strategy in a relaxed environment and the perfect opportunity to plant seeds. Because she has nothing to lose at this point. So again, she's continuing the fishing, throwing out the reel, seeing what comes in. So I think Sierra is doing an amazing job at navigating, being on the bottom, and figuring out a way to come out on top.
yeah.
She definitely is calling out Jeremy, Tasha, Steven, and Savage while at the Survivor Cafe. But it doesn't seem anyone's like really picking up what she's laying down. They're just kind of looking at her with a blank stare.
Right.
And I feel like if I was one of the players with her, I would have been like, this girl's making some sense. Like, there's something here that maybe we can work with. But you didn't really see much. It was really like Sierra putting her heart on the line and nobody else saying anything else.
Yeah, they just kind of switched real quick to Keith trying to ride the tut-tuts on the beach with his buddies.
But Joe did say, Sierra is right, but this was a private interview. This was not to Sierra's face. Sierra is right. I know that they don't want me with them at some point, and people can be loyal for so long, and the same goes for me. So maybe we'll see Joe start to make those moves where he turns on his allies, but right now he's just not doing that for whatever reason.
In my opinion, I feel like that's going to be the only way that Joe could win the game. If he does make some sort of, sneaky, blindsidey move like that. I think that's the only way, people are going to be like, oh, you do have a social game.
Yeah, I hope I can.
On top of everything else that you do, that's amazing.
Yeah, I hope we see that at some point.
Okay, because also, like, going back, I forgot to mention this, but in the challenge, when they did the challenge, him pushing that boat, I feel like is the whole reason they won, right? Like, when they merged together, he pushed the other boat, and I thought that was the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, man,
he did. That was
reward.
Great. Yeah.
Yes, that was
he
you. That
did
was
a really
you,
good job
Joe.
at, like, knocking them off course.
And that's what turned him around and got him all slow.
And he brought that whole box up by himself.
All him, yeah.
So did Jeremy, though. Jeremy's looking real good, too.
Only because he's like, well, Joe did it. So.
Yeah, he's like, well, Joe did it, so I have to.
So I'm going to say something that I think a lot of fans might disagree with me on. I might be in the minority. But again, this is why the voting aspect of picking a cast kind of bothered me, because obviously there is recency bias, so people are voting just based on recent seasons. Keith is... he's a really fun character, and he's definitely a likable guy, but he's a waste of space. And I hate to say that because what game is he playing? He's playing the game of riding around in a tuk-tuk trying to get a Cambodian driver's license. I just haven't heard much of strategy talk from Keith, and it's just disappointing.
He's
when
more
we could have
just
had
sitting-
someone like Shane Powers, who had really been playing the game.
He's more just sitting by, watching it happen, like putting in, he doesn't even really put in his 2 cents. He just says like, yeah, nope, okay, just follows where it goes.
They're all talking. You see
and
a shot
I
of
love
him, like,
Keith.
looking off.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And I love Keith, but he's just, you're right, he's not as much of a player.
Yeah.
Okay, I love him. What I think he brings to the show is just that moment that we saw of him driving everyone around on the tut-tut. Like, he brings so much happiness. He brings
does.
these little jokes and, like, comic relief. So,
And that I can appreciate.
Okay, and
him
also,
for.
I think he's good on challenges, too. In his last season, he killed it on a lot of his challenges. The challenge tonight, he almost won that. Like, he was a killer.
He did kill it.
For an old guy, I think he does
But you're
really
right
well.
with the recency thing. Like, everyone's just voted for people like that were so much more recent.
Right.
With the
So-
exception of a few people.
We have, let's see, people in the live chat right now. Clinton M says Keith is there for the experience, not for the win, which I kind of agree
There you
with.
go. Yeah.
Bria Carter says some people vote for being liked. I voted for the entertainment, which makes sense. But how much of a superfan are you, Bria? If that's the case, just saying. James Bryan says I agree that about Keith. James. Charlie Rose 214. Yes, I agree with you, James. He just listens, doesn't do anything else. Sheena 123 says Jim Rice should have been in the game over Keith. I 100% agree with that. So, I mean,
People have a lot of different
again,
opinions on
Keith is great at entertaining, but as far as playing the game and this being a second chance, Keith is not seizing the second chance mentality like the other players in the competition.
Well, okay, I kind of feel that way about Kelly Wigglesworth.
Same with Kimmy. I don't think he's the only one doing it. It could be that he's not playing. It could be that we just aren't seeing it.
Kelly has literally not said anything this entire time, and also was about to be voted out at one point and didn't try anything to get herself back on top.
Exactly.
Kelly-
Nor have we seen
Kelly
anything-
Wigglesworth.
have seen much from Kimmy.
Are you trying to put her on the same?
On the same pedestal as Keith.
My only argument about that is having experience being on a show. You can't control what editors are choosing for us to see.
We get that, but the same could go for Keith.
But we are seeing Keith, but it's nothing relating to the game. It's just entertainment. Where Kelly Wigglesworth, her being such an iconic player, I'm like, why are editors not showing Kelly Wigglesworth? Because, again, she wasn't voted in by recency bias. She was voted in because she is an OG. Like, super fans voted her because they have been watching since the very beginning. My argument about Keith was he was only voted in because of recency bias, not because he was a good player at the game. He's strong at competitions, but that's all there is to Keith.
That totally makes sense, but we don't know. Maybe the editors are showing what's going on, and Kelly's just not trying anything, you know?
Right.
And if we
maybe
consider
she's not, but we just don't know.
And we consider how little Joe's scheming too. Really, I don't know how much it's about like them scheming and playing the social game. It is about like the survivor aspect to it. Like being endearing enough for people to keep you around all the way to the end. That's playing the game.
Which I feel like is like
playing it
Wigglesworth.
under. Exactly, you play under the radar. You don't get all crazy like Sierra or Cass or all these other people that get voted out because they get all crazy.
Right.
You play
Like,
calm,
I don't see Sierra
be
winning.
endearing, let everyone like you. You know what I mean? You don't push too many buttons.
What if Keith just wins
That
Survivor?
could be his game.
I think now that it's day 20
Could be his game.
and there's 12 people during this episode, now there's 11. It's like our opinions of these people are getting so much more tougher because it's like this is your second chance and you're gonna blow it on something so ridiculous.
Right.
So I'm glad this is great conversation.
Yeah.
So back on Orkin Beach, the people who did not attend the reward challenge, Steven obviously can't deal with it. He just can't deal with it. He can't even.
The music agrees.
Yeah.
I know, there's like the saddest music, eating like the saddest little nectarine. Like, oh my God.
He's at a really low moment. He feels like he lost his season of Survivor because of a reward challenge in Token Chains that was an opportunity for him to bond with other players.
And then Abby's like, get over it.
I know.
Debbie
Debbie Downer.
Like, okay, Abby. He's sad. Like, let him be.
So funny.
And of course, Steven pressing Jeremy a little further, like, I don't want to spend my days taking out the Sierras and the Abbies when there's someone like Joe in this competition.
Right.
But we all know as viewers that Jeremy's only keeping Joe in this game as a shield
Exactly.
to block Jeremy's physical strengths in the competition.
Right. But then, Jeremy goes down and says, if my alliance is down for it, I'm down for it.
Right. Which a couple things about that are funny. Jeremy, I don't really know how much you have of a physical. I mean, you're physically fine. You look great. You look great. But in the challenges, I don't know how strong you are at the challenges. I haven't really seen
trying
him,
to think.
like come out and be amazing and save the day. That's just my
Yeah, that's true.
Like I don't know that if Joe goes away, you're gonna be all of a sudden like this huge physical threat. Nah.
Just
The
because
other
you're
thing,
strong.
I
Like,
think it's funny that Steven's all like, oh, I'm so sad I didn't get to go on the reward. There's so many good conversations I can have. You're having just as great conversations right now, Steven.
Yeah, you have that many people. Right.
Exactly. You're
do the same thing. You don't need to have the food.
Of that. Stop complaining.
Right. I get like the aspect of it, like, you know, you're just, it's a thought. Like, it's in your head, you know, you get all this food, you know, you're happy, but, like, it's the same type of situation.
You can still play.
Well, Steven is obviously working those opportunities to plant as many seeds as he can and blindsiding Joe, and I think he's a little too eager about it now that Joe's not on the same beach as him, because Joe's at the Survivor Cafe. Steven's really seizing this opportunity to have little conversations with everyone on the beach, being like, hey, let's start blindsiding Joe. Let's consider that as an option.
A lot of people are down for it. You know, Spencer's like, I'm willing to play ball. Jeremy says, if my lines is down, I'm down. You know, like, he's starting to...
Savage. He said that Joe... Once the Survivor Cafe folks come back, he approaches Joe immediately and says, in regards to Steven being diabolical, he's throwing your name around for a blindside.
Right.
So Joe, of course, saying, if I don't win immunity, I'm gone, which I think is the case.
And then Savage, like, in a private interview, he's saying, like, you know, Steven's disgusting. He's scheming too much, doing all this. I'm like, you literally just tried to do a blindside like 2 weeks ago and did the exact same thing for Spencer. It was Spencer, right? I'm like, you're being such a hypocrite. Yes. Like, you did the same thing. Like, how can you call Steven disgusting and diabolical and so scheming?
And it's comments like that and, like, little things he does and says, like, flipping them off. And just, like, you're so
like,
immature.
flipping them off. Like, how many times has he done that?
Up, man. Yeah. Like, I can't.
And I mean, I like Savage. I think I liked him more at the beginning. And then I kind of realized that it seems like he is a little bit immature in, like, his gameplay.
Yes. The more he talks, like, I feel like he talks like he's trying to be genuine, but the things he's saying are not.
It kind of comes off as...
actions he makes are not, you know?
It kind of comes off as phony.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, speaking of the immunity challenge, let's talk about how this challenge was a redemption challenge for the San Juan del Sur people. Jeremy was out first. Keith ended up winning it. This challenge had to balance a ball on a disc attached to a rope, and then at given intervals throughout the challenge, they will have to move their hands further down the rope, making it much harder
and it was so
to
similar
hold their balls.
as last week. I'm like, this is the same challenge, basically. I mean, I know it's not, but, like, why don't you do something a little different?
Right.
I think that was like a lot of critiques that I saw on the live feed of Twitter tonight. People were like, what's with all these challenges being kind of like holding a ball on a platter or whatever? And I kind of agree. I just don't think it's...
I got it last week.
Not much diversity.
But why do it again the next week?
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
and then you get the same winner twice. What do you expect? Like,
right. I like the idea of the whole redemption thing. Like, that's why they're doing the whole second chance. But
how many other redemption things are there?
It's season 30, whatever. You know, a lot of the reason why we watch this, the social game. But I love seeing these challenges.
Right.
I love seeing the puzzles. I love seeing how they figure it out, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I wish it was something else.
Yeah.
Well... one by one, people start dropping their balls like flies. Wentworth, Sierra Wigglesworth, Jeremy
just like
doesn't win it. Abby, Maria, Steven, and Savage. It comes down to 4 people. Kimmy, Tasha, Spencer, Keith. Oh, 5 people. Kimmy, Tasha, Spencer, Keith, and Joe. Kimmy did a lot of great recovery saves in the challenge, which I thought was entertaining. I was like, what if Kimmy ends up winning this? I got really excited.
Right?
And of course, Kimmy ends up falling. Then Tasha, Spencer, and it comes down to Keith, Joe. Not much of a surprise.
They were doing that for how long was it?
Over
an hour.
Time.
Like, I can't believe that. Your arms, maybe an hour and a half. Like, that was nuts.
Right. And when it got down to those two, for a second, I was telling her, I was like, man, I wish Joe would just ask Keith to give it to him. Because obviously Keith doesn't need it. You know, Joe needs it, you know? And, like, had he made a little bit of that social play, that I feel like would have worked for him, maybe.
But I feel like Joe would never do something like that.
Of course
like,
not.
It makes me wonder, like, had Joe, this question is for you ladies, as well as everyone in the live chat. If Joe did not win immunity in this situation, would he have been the one voted out?
Yeah.
Would he have been blindsided? Would Steven's plan have
worked?
I
don't know. I don't know.
I want to say because that's easy, but I also feel like there's so much time between the challenge and tribal that everyone gets all like paranoid and
just
crazy.
Like we saw.
And because Joe was such an easy answer, there's way too much time, you know, to talk and like change plans and, you know, for someone to like make a big move or whatever, you know.
And like
so
Savage
I don't
wasn't.
think so.
If Savage would have been on board, I think that Joe would have went home. But Savage was not on board, so he could have swayed other people to like get on somebody else, you know. So I feel like it could have been like a toss up between maybe Steven and Joe.
Absolutely, it would have been interesting.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Thank God Joe won the challenge.
Thank God Joe wins the challenge. That means another week of seeing him
and I
in
didn't
his
feel
beautiful self.
Yeah.
It would have been nice if Keith won, just because I'd be like, oh my God, Keith, I'm so happy you won. But like, I wasn't upset that he didn't win because I knew that he wasn't going home, so it didn't matter.
That's exactly what I was saying.
Everyone in the live chat weighing in on the conversation. Mary Duda 444. Joe is gone. Yes. Gisela Erickson. Joe totally would have been gone. Steven Sosa. Yes. Jimmy Blues, yep, Joe would have been gone. Andrew Kirk, throwing a little curveball in there, says, I think it would have been Fishback going.
It could have.
It could have easily been Steven.
Well, and, you know, like Joe said, he was like, I knew this was coming, but I didn't see it so soon. If I don't want immunity, I'm out. Like, he knew 100%.
And Andrew Kirk did say Savage would have had the numbers to pull out a Steven vote. So,
right,
yeah,
exactly.
Steven probably would have gone in that situation. Back on Orkin Beach, right before Tribal Council, a lot of things happening. Steven obviously so frustrated because he's been working on getting Joe out of this game since the beginning.
Oh my God, we saw his face just fall when Joe won.
He was just so devastated.
Yeah.
Savage starts to throw out Steven's name because Savage is so loyal to Joe and that alliance that if Steven's not being loyal to it, then it gives Savage the right to be like, well, if Steven's not loyal, then I'm not going to be loyal to Steven.
Yeah.
So Steven's name has started to be
he is
thrown
so
out there.
loyal to Joe. He was like, I literally swear on my kid's life, like, I will not write your name down ever. I'm like, dang.
Right?
Savage.
Well, then we see Joe coming into play saying, I'm going to use these 3 girls on the bottom to help with this vote. A lot of people in the chat are asking, or I've noticed, do you think Joe should side with these 3 girls? And I was thinking, well, yeah, it would have been great for him to pull them aside, but I don't know if it's the right time necessarily to work with those 3 girls, because then Joe would be at the bottom. I don't know if Joe would have been, you know, like it just seems like he would have been at the bottom.
Exactly.
And put more of a target on him when he already has like this challenge target on him.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it would have been smart.
Right.
Joe is filling in Wigglesworth and Wentworth about voting out Steven. So kind of this plan is starting to circulate throughout the camp. Wentworth is like, you know, Sierra, Abby, Maria, myself are on the bottom. So I thought that I was screwed. Then out of nowhere, Joe tells me that we're going to blindside Steven. And I'm like, fantastic. This is huge. So there was like a glimmer of hope in that moment where I was like, Steven's actually probably going to go home.
I thought it was going to be Steven the whole time. I'm like, well, there was a little bit at the end where I was like, I literally have no idea what's going on. But until then, I was like, I think it's going to be Steven.
Right. Wentworth tells Sierra, this stays between you and me. And the moment I heard those words...
I thought she was going to tell her about the immunity idol.
Me too. And
I was like,
thinking,
no!
No, Wentworth, do not tell Sierra you have an idol.
I was like, I know you're friends, but do not tell her. And she didn't,
so
thank
worried.
God.
Yeah.
But since we are talking about the relationship between Wentworth and Sierra right now, obviously they're really close. While they're at the watering hole, Sierra says, you know, as long as it's not you or me, I'm okay. Everyone in the live chat is like giving praise to the 3 girls on the bottom. They're like, oh, Wentworth, Sierra, and Abby Maria, what do you think of these goddesses? I'm going to keep it real for 1 second. Abby Maria has no game.
She's not a goddess.
I'm sorry. She's not one of the goddesses. My money and my eyes are on Sierra and Wentworth. Abby Maria is just an extra vote to those girls.
Exactly.
Abby Maria is on the bottom because who the heck in the right mind wants to work with her?
I'm sorry for the Abby Maria haterade, but
we're just going to keep it real.
we're going to keep it real for a second.
Abby Maria did not make those moves tonight. Abby Maria is just there.
She's just there.
existing.
And everybody knows that.
Never came up.
They always mention, too, they're like, oh, the Abby Marias of the game.
Right.
Like, they know
Exactly.
that she's not going anywhere. She's just there for a bowl, you know.
Over the Abby train.
Over the Abby train.
So I'm just waiting for the live chat popping up. 2 Real says, no, Abby is good at untying little tiny knots, and Sierra won that puzzle challenge. I don't understand what that means, but yeah, okay, sure. So now that we know, it's Wentworth and Sierra, not Wentworth, Sierra, and Abby Maria. You can't give all 3 of them praise, just 2 of the 3.
Agreed. Agreed.
Only 2 heads of the 3-headed dragon.
3-headed dragon,
Right, yeah.
Jeremy's obviously feeling a little bit more hesitant now about voting out Steven because he's been loyal to him since the beginning of the game.
Jeremy changed that vote.
He did. He's
100%.
like, I want to take out Sierra or Wentworth. Savage being like, I'm a lawyer. I usually try to get my way, but this is one of those situations where I'm like,
I just don't get my way.
I'll just lay back and watch it happen.
Right.
Tasha delivers the bad news to Joe and says, none of us trust Steven, but we don't want to take him out and cause a divide.
And Joe's just like, okay, well, what are we going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. That
He was
a little
cool about
easy,
it. He was
I feel
cool about
like.
it. Yeah, but then that's what Kelly was saying, right? She's like, Joe won't grow a pair.
Exactly, yeah.
And do anything about it, you know,
So
because
she
he's
felt like
not.
she needed to take
He's
the
not
spot.
fighting for his spot.
Right.
Right. Really quick, Evan Kurth puts in the live chat, come on, Abby's improving. Is that sarcasm? Because I'm dying to know. If you think she's improving because she's not talking as much, maybe that's good improvement. But she really is not improving.
Right.
Yeah, no,
Exactly.
Not at all.
I
Even
don't
like
agree.
small little actions she made, like when she lost the challenge and she like lets
Yeah.
her thing down. I'm like, just little bratty things like that, girl.
She's just a brat.
Get it together.
Mr. Real Texan says, Abby Maria reminds me of Camilla from MTV's The Challenge. Do you ladies watch that show? Well, funny enough, Camilla is Brazilian. But to rebuttal that statement, Marina, who was part of our panel before she had other obligations to go to, she's Brilliant.
Right.
And said, this is not a Brazilian thing.
Right, exactly. It's
So-
just Abby Maria and apparently Camilla. Yeah.
So, Sierra, we see her distress before Tribal Council. She's talking to her Wentworth and Abby Maria saying, I'm so tired of this game and people not making moves. I was worried for a second that Wentworth was going to go home or Sierra.
I thought it was
they
Sierra.
said Sierra, or Kelly was like, she's like, okay, so is it Sierra or me? Which one is it? Or Sierra said that, you know, like they knew it was going to be one of the two.
Yeah, I loved it when they're talking on the
She's
beach
like, okay,
and
yeah,
they're talking
who
to
is
Joe. And Kelly straight walks by and she's all smiling. She goes, it's me, right?
Right, it's me.
So cute.
Yeah. But,
Oh,
I mean,
God.
so when Kelly says, okay, Joe won't grow a pair of balls, he's dead to me, what exactly did she expect him to do? Just try to scheme this plan to get Steven actually out? Or
Yes,
what
I mean,
was
okay, I do
the
feel
big
like
plan?
had Joe really pushed, because I was thinking about it, if Joe really pushed, he could have gotten, he had Savage, he had Sierra, Abby, Wentworth, he could have gotten Wigglesworth and Keith, you know, and I feel like that would have been a solid 7.
Yeah.
And he totally could have made that move if he really tried, but...
Because it was Tasha that delivered the news to him that they weren't going to go for Steven.
Right.
So
Right.
what do we have? Tasha, Jeremy,
Fishback.
Savage.
But Savage was on his
Savage was
team,
on our
so-
side.
Oh,
Yeah, I feel
right.
like had he really pushed, he could have done it without even really having to
Yeah,
get all
what's
of
the
his
big deal?
team,
Just from
so-
Tasha saying we don't want to do that?
Yeah, he just
That's like 3 people.
peed out.
See, Joe she's
could
right.
have done it.
He's not
But he
playing
didn't.
the game.
Yeah, he didn't, yeah. He just gave up really easily.
So we only have 10 more minutes of a live show. So I want to talk about this Tribal Council because it was a doozy. It was so good.
It was a doozy.
Cass enters, flipping everyone off
Oh my
in good
God,
fashion.
of course.
Loved it.
I loved it though. Everyone's just laughing.
And I think she did it
Chaos
because it's her
Cass.
shtick. I don't think she did it
Oh, yeah.
as a personal
She was
attack
doing it
on
for
anyone.
funny.
It was just
That's who
Cass
she
being
is.
Cass.
Yep.
First question of Tribal Council. Probst goes, Sierra, you didn't think people were playing last time around. Did that theme carry on after Tribal Council? Sierra.
No.
Yes, no one is fighting for their spot
God.
in the top. Wentworth chimes in and goes, Jeff, I'm going to lay it out right now. There are 4 people who are running this game, so that's bottom line. Probst then going, but there's 8 other people that would be able to swallow those other 4.
Right.
Wentworth says, but that's what I would think, but nobody wants to make a move. I'm like waiting, like, why is no one calling out this 4?
Right.
Leave it to Sierra. Yes, Jeff, the 4, Jeremy, Savage, Tasha, Steven, or Joe.
Right.
It's
Steven
kind
or-
of like a hazy.
Yeah, and then I love how he called her out. He was like, or Savage said, right? He's like, okay, so she's saying that there's 4. There's obviously 5. Like, she doesn't even know who the top people are. Like, that's how much the game changes. Like, she doesn't
Right.
even know.
Right.
And she's trying to be all, like, high and mighty
Yeah.
about it. And
Yeah.
she doesn't even know.
It's funny this whole time too, like when they're talking about the top 4 and all this, I'm just thinking of little Spencer in the corner, like,
Oh, yeah.
dang, Spencer's all happy. He's like, I'm not in the spotlight, because I
Yeah.
totally think he's a top player.
Oh,
and he's
yeah.
just playing right under the radar. That's
Well,
what I
because
was
he's
thinking
been
the
on
whole time.
he's been on bottom so many times now. And he's just like, I'm happy to be in this
Yeah,
spot.
he hardly talked.
But
It was-
Sierra
good.
just sounded bitchy to me that entire time.
Yeah.
She
No,
annoyed me
You don't
the
think?
whole time. Her
Why?
eyes, her face,
Oh.
just rolling her eyes everywhere. She was so immature.
I think Sierra is a great player, but just the things that she was saying in there, like she just sounded very bitchy.
Yes.
And like very
bratty.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Her rolling her eyes at everyone. Let people talk. You said what you wanted to say, right? Let people talk.
Right.
And you don't roll your eyes at
No,
them.
I totally agree.
loved it. It was so entertaining.
It's nice to get
So
trust me, I
funny.
like the drama. I like the drama,
Oh,
but I just thought that
obviously,
she
yeah.
was being bitchy and
As a
I didn't like
person.
that.
Now I'm just waiting for everyone in the live chat to comment in
Oh, yeah, I know.
on
Yeah.
Sierra. What do you guys think? Was Sierra being a little too bitchy with her eye rolls, or did you love it?
Or did you love it?
Did you love it?
Which one? Do you hate it or
I love it, and like, I love when Abby's ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
I love watching it, but love her as a person.
But I can see, I
Yeah.
can see why Sierra is like as intense as she was because she's on the bottom,
Right.
And everyone else is like not really playing the game as intensely as Sierra would like,
What
which
does she?
I understand.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean they're not playing the game as intensely as she likes?
Because they're not making big moves. They're
They're
not.
not being,
They
like,
took
scheming.
Cass out
Like
because
Joe,
it was the
they're being
easy
easy
thing
and-
to
Like
do.
Joe making a big
Right.
move, for example, tonight.
Right.
Like how he could have made a big move to get
Exactly.
Steven back out. Okay.
I think it was more directed to someone like Joe, where it's
Right.
like you have an opportunity to put yourself in a position to be at the top,
And you're not.
but you're not seizing those opportunities. So I understand Sierra's frustration.
I think she's also poking at the other, not her, but like they were saying, like the other 8 people. You know,
Right.
Kimmy, Spencer, Keith. All these people could totally be making changes.
But they're just trying to go with the flow,
Yes, they go with
They're just
whoever.
not trying. I would do the same thing. Like I'm just gonna slide under and go wherever you guys need me to go.
Bria, Clinton M says, I agree with you, Susannah and Paige. Charlie Rose 214 says, yes, she was immature. I
Right.
agree. So yeah,
you.
everyone's saying she was being, most of the people are saying yes,
Right.
she's being bitchy. But my favorite comment is by Too Real. They said, Sierra's eye rolls are on fleek.
Fleek.
I agree. All right, so of course Savage goes forward talking about the alliance. He goes, there's a bunch of us who talk often, that have a mutual respect for one another, says, and then Sierra popping in says, if there's an alliance, somebody's on the bottom, somebody's on the top, and there are definitely people here playing who are playing great, but that's the reality of Survivor, is someone's on the top, someone's on the bottom. But then Steven pops in and is like, I don't think there's a bottom here. I think this game is being played way different from other 30 seasons, which I think if I were Sierra and I was kind of waiting for it, I thought she would pop in and be like, Steven, you are on the bottom because you almost got blindsided tonight. I was just waiting for them to throw that out there on the table, so Steven would be more like, what? Like, my name was thrown out there?
And that would have mixed up some drama.
That would have been a lot of drama. Should have done that.
A lot of drama. So Savage goes, Savage, where do you fall with this big move mentality? Savage goes, oh, it's fascinating. It's a plea that she can make because she's not in the alliance. She's on the bottom. If she was sitting in other positions, she wouldn't be saying things like that.
Didn't Kelly say something in there too?
Well, Wentworth did go, Abby, Maria, Sierra, and myself are on the bottom. It seems like the easy vote would be one of us. But someone came to me today and said, I want to make a big move. I didn't go to them. And then Probst goes, well, why aren't you adding them? Wentworth being the ninja, smart goddess that she is.
Girl.
Well, if I'm here tomorrow, what if I have to work with them?
Smart girl.
Brilliant.
She was referring to Joe.
Smart girl.
Yes.
Which maybe that should have been what Sierra did when he's like, name your top 4, and Sierra kind of like names 5. You know.
It's so good.
Sierra's throwing herself under the bus.
Silence.
I think Sierra's putting herself to be more of a target than Wentworth or Abby Maria.
Which is surprising that Wentworth got all the votes tonight.
I know.
It's
very fascinating.
When she threw out, because she threw out the immunity idol, and I literally said to Susannah, I was like, I don't think that she needed to throw that out tonight, to be honest. Which is really, like, I thought that it was going to be Sierra.
Yeah, I totally thought so, too.
And, like, I was like, oh, I don't even think she's going to get that many votes. Like, thank God she put that out.
The only thing was the reactions. Man, when she busted that out.
They loved it. They loved it, though.
Yeah, everyone hated it, but they also loved it because it was so good.
Because I first I was like, is she not going to play it? Because it was like, it seemed like
hesitating.
a long pause.
Yes, it was.
And then she's like, I may be on the bottom, but I'm not ready to go home yet. Everybody's reactions were priceless.
They were like, oh.
And her attitude from there out.
From there on, yeah. She was like,
so, all pouty.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, like that. Ha ha.
Loved it.
I couldn't believe
Absolutely
that.
loved it.
I was very, very, like, nervous after that. I'm like, who is going to be the one vote?
And I can't believe they didn't split vote. I've never
Shocked
seen
by that.
them not. I've never seen them do that.
You mean everybody?
Yeah,
like usually when they decide to pick one person, they always split the vote in case one of them has an idol.
Right.
Why didn't they do that?
Yeah.
They had such a huge group. I've never seen so many people vote for one player. You know what I mean? Like,
It was
I've
just
never
the
seen
3
one
girls
name come out that
on the
much. Have
bottom.
you? Like,
Right.
That voted for
I've never
Savage.
seen that
I
many
for
people
sure
vote
thought,
for
and I think a
person.
lot of people in the live chat before we went live tonight were saying, why didn't they split the votes? My favorite tweet that I saw tonight regarding that was from Jim Rice, who was on Survivor South Pacific and in the running to be on Second Chance. He said, awesome idol play, Kelly Wentworth. The others clearly had no respect for your game. Otherwise, they would have split the vote.
Right.
It's like, oh, they didn't think Kelly Wentworth would have had an idol, so it's like,
That's
well,
true.
I'll vote
Idols
for her.
weren't even talked.
Damn.
Which is surprising. Not a lot of people have talked about idols this entire
First
game.
season that I've noticed that.
So,
you know?
and I definitely think Wentworth has done a great job at not telling anyone.
Oh,
I think
killed
that.
it.
I can't believe she doesn't tell that. Not even Sierra.
Even,
Jeremy
Sierra's
too.
reaction was so good.
Jeremy's
She's like,
still
I
looking for
love
an
it.
Someone said to her, they're like, or Spencer was like, you didn't know? And she's like, no.
She's like, this is my
That's
This
true.
is my favorite moment of the game or
It
something
was
like
so
that.
good.
So they had no respect for her game. They didn't even
That's
split the
true.
vote.
I mean, if you
makes
look at it that
sense.
way, yeah.
That's a good
it would
point,
be like you would have
Jim
split the vote if
So-
you were threatened by Wentworth.
That's
And so
so
basically,
true.
this is what they're saying is like, you know, Sierra's always talking about playing the game. Is that why just the 3 girls voted for Savage? They were like, oh, we don't even care on getting in on this. We're just going to vote for who we want. Even though they knew, like, you know, it's only 3 votes.
I think
the three
I
of
think
them were
the
sitting
conversation that they were discussing is that they wanted to send a message to that alliance, the people
Sure.
that were at the top. And obviously Sierra having the baggage with Savage, it made sense to vote Savage. But I don't think that they really spent a lot of time in the editing and story-wise for us as viewers to understand
Sure.
that.
Yes.
So, but of course, Savage gets blindsided. The 3 girls on the bottom
He was, like,
were really the
unbelievable.
ones on top of this episode.
So good.
So we only have 7 minutes left. I want to spend 1 minute exactly from this
Okay.
point going forward.
1 minute.
Let's talk about Savage. I don't understand all the Savage hate. Everyone online has been just talking about how Savage has been awful. he's been this and that, whatever names people are throwing out there. I just don't personally understand it or if it's necessarily warranted. What do you ladies think?
I enjoy some of the things he says. I think he's charming, but definitely the vibe that I get from him just watching him, he seems two-faced. To me, I think he seems phony. I feel like he says things that are super hypocritical. He's so immature for his age. The things you say, like, about people and, like, I don't know, like, you don't have to be that mean, you know? Like, God, like, if you're going to be genuine to people to their face, then, you know, be that way, you know, in front of the cameras in your confessionals, you know? Don't be one way. You know what I mean? Like, Abby, I feel like she's straight across the board. She's just...
Yeah, like, she's a bitch and we know it. You know, like, and she doesn't try to hide it.
She confronts people, you know? But, God,
yeah, at least she confronts people to their face. Yeah. Like, that I'll give her credit for it.
But Andrew tries to come off so genuine.
Yeah. So we think Savage, the reason why his hate is out there is because of his hypocrisy.
Yeah, that's a lot of it for me.
I don't think that Savage is mean. Like, I don't think he's a mean guy.
Right.
I think that he is a hypocrite in things that he tries to do, but I don't know. I'm very split about Savage. Like, I really liked Savage at the beginning, and then as we started moving forward, I was like, okay, you know, he's seeming a little bit more phony to me, like some of the comments that he's making. And then, like, tonight we saw him, like, flip off the camera like 2 or 3 times. You know, it's just like, it's very frustrating and it sucks. Like, you were totally blindsided, like, you did not know that was going to happen, but, like, we would never see, like, a Woo or, like, a Joe making a move like that, you know?
Right. Well, let me throw this out here. Everyone's always like, oh, I can't believe it. You know, Savage, some people are saying they don't like him after tonight because he flipped off Abby Maria. But on the flip side, Abby Maria was kind of being a bee. Let's be honest. Her being like, at least he made the jury was unnecessary. Because Savage, to me, was going out with his head held high. He accepted defeat. He turned around and waved. And then started to walk away. But the moment Abby Maria opened her mouth and said, at least he made the jury, he flips her off.
What's her deal?
And then everyone online is making an uproar about what Savage said. When I'm like, in reality, I would have done the same thing. Why knock a man who's already down? That says a lot about Abby Maria's character, not Savage's. I'm just going to defense for him.
Does she have a lot of beef with him? I don't even remember. What's the deal with them?
I honestly think, I don't think she meant it maliciously. I think she honestly meant, because he kept saying
no, I think she
that was definitely passive aggressive.
You know Abby Maria.
Yeah, no, that's
true. Why knock a man when he's down already? Like, I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of split about Savage. I do like him as a person. Like, I don't think he's as bad as everybody's making him out to be.
Yeah. I've enjoyed him being on this season. I think he deserved a second chance. It's been nice to see him fulfill that goal of being on the jury. I can understand why people think he's hypocritical or he doesn't like things that go his way, and so he has a little hissy fit. I get it. I've enjoyed watching him this season, regardless of what people think.
I agree.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so 4 minutes left. Let's talk about our fantasy draft real quick before we wrap things up. Paige.
God. And I got Fishback, so I got 2, like, I had Savage, and now Fishback is probably going home, but I still do have 2 of the top players in the game.
Yeah.
So, there we go. But I'm definitely last, because every time that whoever it is on
Fantasizer.
On Fantasizer
Exploring.
and like on
Joseph
YouTube.
Boza.
Like
Joseph Boza.
Yeah, every time he says it, I'm always on the freaking bottom, and I'm like, okay.
And I'm like,
every time.
Yeah, but you do have, like you said, you have 2 of the
Tasha,
4. Oh, no, well, 3 of them. Yeah, all of your people are the 4 top people.
Yeah, apparently Steven's kind of on the top.
Yeah.
So,
apparently.
There's that.
Susannah, what about your team?
I love my team. I just love the people. I mean, okay, Sierra is
every
annoying.
week, Susannah, I just love my team.
I do.
It's so cute.
I can't. Like, when they were all on the same reward team today, I was like, yes, thank you. It was so cute. Okay, Sierra's annoying the hell out of me. I'm kind of worried for her because she's being too annoying, and I think that's going to work against her. Kelly and Keith, I think, are on the same level. I think they're being genuine. I think they're super likable. I think they're playing under the radar. Joe, I think, same thing, super likable, but he's a huge target, obviously, and I feel like the more he wins, the bigger his target. Just like, I think it was Jeremy or someone said, the bigger his target gets. And
like, Joe literally has to win every immunity challenge.
And like, even when they got back to the beach, everyone was kind of like congratulatory, but not super excited for him. They're all like, oh, even Keith was like, nope, Big Joe again. You know, it didn't kill it enough. You know, so I feel like the more he wins, it's just like kind of just getting at people. So I'm kind of worried for him too.
That's true.
I don't know.
I'd be very sad to see Joe go.
I know.
Yeah.
I am really excited about my team, minus Abby Maria. I just have to have her for the points. Kimmy, I think, is doing a great job at playing under the radar. I think someone like Kimmy has a chance at winning. And I only say that because Cass, in her interview of like 10 things or 11 things Cass wants you to know about her time on Survivor, she said she left the game wanting someone like Kimmy to win. Because Kimmy's done a good job at putting herself in an alliance with power players and staying loyal to that. So Kimmy, I think, is someone to keep watching.
Okay.
I'm excited to see how Kimmy does. Wentworth, obviously a ninja. I think in my mind, she is the
Killing
top
it.
runner to win right now.
I could, yeah.
She kind of deserves it right now.
I can't believe she's gonna go home tonight.
So close.
Why didn't they give any votes to Sierra? Why did they pick Wentworth? What was up with Sierra? Why did
That's
they
what I'm
want
saying.
to
There's a lot of like blank spots that I wish you would have known.
I feel like if I just watched the episode tonight, I would have. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I would have just taken Sierra outright tonight. You know, I wouldn't have gone for Wentworth. Anyways, continue, Spencer.
Well, Spencer, I mean, we haven't seen much of him lately, and Abby Maria, again, no shot in heck that she is going to win Survivor ever. So that wraps up our fantasy trip.
Who do you guys think, if you had a guess, is going home next week?
I want to say Sierra.
Yeah.
I want to say Sierra.
I'm going to say Sierra or Steven.
Or Fishback.
Yeah, I think people are going to be tired of Sierra's
Or
antics.
Joe.
If
She
Joe
doesn't
doesn't win
win.
immunity, that's exactly what I was thinking.
All right, really quick, just one prediction. Now he said that. Who is going to jump in the water for the advantage in the game?
Oh, yeah, we saw that.
My money is on Wentworth.
Wentworth. Oh, wait, Wentworth?
I think she'll jump in and get it.
Wait, they're all going to jump in, though.
Yeah, I think
it's
a
just
lot
who
of them
touches it
will.
first.
You mean who will win it?
Well, I think that it's during an immunity challenge. So it's like who's going to stay up on the thing to win immunity and who's going to jump in to get the reward.
Right.
Does that make sense? Because there's
No.
buoys that come up.
The buoys were immunity.
No.
The
The advantage,
were-
I think, is the hidden immunity clue or something of that nature. And I think the rest of them standing on the triangle is for the actual immunity necklace. I think they're enticing them to jump by having the buoys be out there.
Because that's going to be a reward.
Right.
I think it's going to be a clue.
A clue to
How
the
they
immunity
had
idol.
the
Yeah.
immunity idol in the other challenge.
Wentworth wants that immunity idol, and now she would have gone home. So
Yeah.
I think Wigglesworth might go for it,
You
actually.
think?
It'll be
I
interesting.
think Wigglesworth, yeah, because she keeps trying to make big plays. She's a big swimmer. Totally think so.
Yeah, Wentworth or Wigglesworth. Let's go with that.
Well, I can only hope it's Wentworth. Ladies, that's a wrap. Where can they find you on social media?
You can tweet me at Susannah_Kim and find me on Instagram at Susannah Kim.
Paige.
And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Paige Bonanno.
And you can find me on Twitter at James Wallington and on Instagram at James.Wallington. And I just want to give a big shout out and thank you to the 60 people we had watching tonight.
Good
That is
job.
the highest amount of viewers that we've had watching our live show. So let's keep it up every week from now. We appreciate your guys' loyalty to our after show. And we will see you guys all next Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on AfterBuzz TV.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.